low key like heck, like they won't pay any attention.
Yeah.
And they were just like this, and I was just like, you just got a pig. And she dropped her phone and she was like, how did you, like, could you see my phone? Did somebody tell you? Like, she was freaking out.
Wow.
And I was like, yo, I'm gonna stop doing crowd work because I'm like reading people's mail. I didn't even know.
Man.
I would just do it. I didn't know.
You're like,
it was weird, bro.
Like channeling these people.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, bro.
What if that's like a thing, a gift, and you don't realize it? Man?
Yeah, and I didn't want to acknowledge it, so I just kind of like, I kind of just like, I'm trying to push it off to coincidence.
That's like a Marvel superhero.
That's what I'm saying. You're like Professor Xavier. Yeah.
Crowd work, man.
Exactly. After doing 15 minutes of crowd work, he solved 5 people's problems.
Thank you for checking out the Jokeaday podcast. Last time I got tongue-tied on saying whether you watch or listen. This time I'm prepared. Thank you for checking it out. Getting straight to the point. Got my co-host with me today, as usual, David Aerodynamic Griffin.
Thank you.
There you go. Wipe me down.
I'm just walking in my bald confidence.
You should. You got it.
Yeah.
Today we got a very special guest, someone that I have known in my comedy career, if not the beginning, pretty close to the beginning. He's an actor. He's a filmmaker. He has his own improv group, the House Improv Group, at the Zyder's Dream Theater in Virginia Beach, called Plan B Comedy.
Yeah.
He's also the coordinator, the producer of the Virginia Beach Comedy Festival for multiple years. And I'm sure a bunch of credits that we'll probably get into during this interview.
Yeah, I'm losing fingers. I was trying to count.
Yeah. So make some noise for Jason Kypros.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, my gosh, man. That was so nice.
Yeah, man.
Everybody.
It's a real intro. Try to get you a real one.
Yeah, trying to do something
professional.
That's
good. Yeah. That's cool.
You forgot about some of those credits.
I forgot about them, yeah. Some of them don't exist anymore, bro.
They don't. I was going to ask you why. I was like, this is the perfect time to ask why. I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why, Jason?
Why? The VB Comedy Fest went on. We put it on hiatus last year, and then we'll see what happens with all that. But I don't know. It was just a little bit of everything. I think something between the venue and just kind of the buy-in and all that sort of stuff. It's tough, you know? Yeah. I think a lot of times we start. Well, I know for me, the curve on that one was tried to do a little too much in the beginning. I don't know, maybe not.
I think the scene was in need of that. I believe there was a Norfolk Comedy Festival at one time, but it was only the Push, that I believe, which is majority improv. So it wasn't really a stand-up comedy festival for this area. So you were filling a void that was needed in this area by starting the Virginia Beach Comedy Festival.
Yeah, well, that's true. And we wanted to do something like that over there, too. And I guess it felt that, well, because the Z at the time, when I presented the idea to the artistic director at the time, he was the one who was like, well, let's call it the VB Comedy Fest. And I was like, we call it whatever, you know what I mean? But he wanted to kind of locate it for whatever. And one of the big things was like, just for anyone to be able to come to do it. So we focused heavily on stand-up, but we did some other improv stuff too and everything too.
No, you did, but it was all encompassing. But I believe the Norfolk one was limited as far as, I think it was majority improv, where yours, I think, tried to meet in the middle. Yeah,
maybe. There may have been a couple other limiting factors as well, but I just know that when we did the one at VB, my number one push for it was to make sure that no matter who wanted to be on it, as long as, like they met whatever bar there was, right? And they were on it. So it wasn't like, oh, you're with them, forget it. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just kind of like, we wanted to come one, come all kind of feel.
Okay, so are you referring to like the clique mentality that exists within the community sometimes?
I feel like there is a little bit of a clique, you know what I'm saying? Okay. We can't talk about comedy and not talk about the clique.
Okay. The cool kids.
But they're out there. They exist.
This is not a got you podcast. We don't have to get into those murky waters.
No.
But we're acknowledging the existence of clique.
Well, they do. We all know it. Like when you go, even like, I mean, there's certain clubs you want to play and you just can't get in the club. You know what I mean? And there's certain, whatever it is. There's always somebody that, there's gatekeepers everywhere you go, man.
Yeah, no, that's true.
What I say, give somebody a clipboard and you'll see
But you
who they
yourself,
really
by becoming the anti-gatekeeper, became a gatekeeper.
I guess. But to what, though, is my question.
The Virginia Beach Comedy Festival.
Oh, I guess so,
You booked multiple shows. You had, I don't know how many different venues you had, because I know you had venues before I met you.
Yeah, we used to do lots of, I started when I was in Los Angeles. And I came back from LA, and that's where I started doing stand-up years ago. And I came back here, and there really wasn't much going on, right?
Yeah.
And you hear old, Hampton Roads heads talking about like the Thurgood Inn. That was the thing. That was always the shining house on the hill. Remember the inn, man. Remember the inn. And I played the Thurgood Inn a couple times. Mm-hmm. Like oddly enough, somehow I managed to get into that place. And this. What's that guy? His name was Parson or something like that, his name? I don't know. Anyway. And there wasn't much, so I started putting up open mics because that's what we had in LA. I just kind of tried to do whatever it was that I was used to.
I mean, so your background, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
So you
were born.
Yeah, that's true. yeah. My mother found me. I was a found baby.
So, you come from a showbiz family, though, if I'm not correct, or at least the arts family.
Yeah, that's fair to say. My dad's a concert pianist, and I grew up hearing him practice. I mean, he got his master's degree from Juilliard, which is worth mentioning just because he's playing heavy stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's around there.
Kind of up there.
Yeah, and then
I mean, where do you go? What's higher than Juilliard? What is higher than Juilliard?
Well, he's composed several liturgies for the church, so that's probably it.
That's Greek Orthodox.
Yeah.
Okay,
that'd be the music that accompanies the service.
Yes.
And then my mom was a singer in a band growing up, so she was in a band. They were working out went all the way down to Florida and all up and down the East Coast or whatever, opened for some bigger people or whatever. And so I mean, that was. So it was encouraged. It was an encouraging environment if I wanted to do something like that.
Yeah.
You came from it, but so what came first? Was acting first or was stand up first?
I don't know. Probably acting. I like to say in my bios, when I write my bio, I say my first acting gig was when I was 5 and I pretended to be a cat.
Was this for a household production or was this outside the home?
I thought I wanted to be a cat, so I decided I was going to crawl like a cat into the kitchen and I got some cat food.
And did you?
And I ate some of it. And I thought it was good. The first bite, I was like, all right.
Was it Fancy Feast?
I'm not sure, man. I would have to say yes.
Okay.
Was that method acting?
In retrospect, I'm like, yeah. Stella Adler's like, yes, But
I embodied the cat.
But I was like, I think I'm a cat now. And I was like, well, I'll go back and eat some more of this food to make sure. Like, I somehow, at 5, I'm like, that's how I'll know. Yeah. And I ate some more food. It was gross.
Well, might I say that...
So I knew I liked to act, but I also knew I wasn't a cat.
Right. But your voice is very deep and raspy at 5.
Yeah.
I think I'm a cat. Very clear line.
That's my thinking voice.
Okay.
Ever since I was little.
Internal.
My inner narrator.
All right.
Yeah.
So your acting came first. When did you actually make the move into stand-up? Or what made you decide stand-up specifically?
I guess I've always wanted to do stand-up. So I always acted, but always thought of myself a little bit as a comedian, right? I think that kind of all of us to some degree, right? Like you're making your friends laugh or your family laugh or have a comic that I like to watch that I would, vibe with. And then I just always wanted to take the risk of going up on stage. And I remember I went to an open mic at the Thurgood Inn. And this is before I moved to Los Angeles, and I watched an open mic, but I didn't have the guts to get up. But I remember watching it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I could do this, man, And then I went to LA, and that's when I was like, I just have to do it. And so I started getting up and hitting some open mics. But that was because I'd gone to LA to, I'd been performing, like you said, and so I was in college, and I did plays, did musical theater, did regular theater, and in college I started to do some film projects just because it was college and it was like the new thing. Video cameras were finally accessible and stuff like that. So we're playing. This is I graduated in '96.
Okay.
And then I got out of college and I got fortunate and I booked a film. And so there's this movie called Mickey about Little League Baseball. It's a John Grisham film. And this is what's funny.
The lawyer? The lawyer,
right?
okay.
This wasn't a book first. This was a movie the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And so it's about but it's a John Grisham spin where it's like a guy, his son's name's Mickey, and he's trying to avoid the IRS, so he leaves. And they get fake IDs, and the fake ID makes his son a year younger than he actually is, which means that he's still technically in Little League, even though he's the age where he should move up to the regular. You know what I'm talking about, right?
So you was doing some of that Little League.
Yeah. So it turned into but the Cubans, or you know what I mean,
Right,
is what it was, and it was what it was. But this was an interesting thing about the film too, is that I remember when I auditioned for it, the lady who was my agent at the time, the lady named Marsha Wolf, she's a lovely person, and I had my resume, and she decided when we submitted for the film, because I had an acting resume and I had all this stuff on it, but she decided not to include any of my acting resume, but just my sports resume, because I played baseball and football, and baseball is the one that I played the most.
Yeah.
So she sent my baseball resume in, and that's what got the thing for me, I think, because this.
That worked out for a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Jamie Foxx got the Any Given Sunday, because he set records as a quarterback in his hometown in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
He had that background, like having that in your chamber for roles like, I mean, entertainment. I've heard it said that this is like the only field where you use everything that you've ever done. Sure. So I mean, that does come in. That was smart of your.
It was super smart.
Yeah.
And then once I was on the film, I realized, because I was in a weird spot where I was like kind of this. I wasn't old as I was the assistant coach for the American team was my role. Okay. So it was like a part where I had a couple lines, but I was in it. And I worked opposite this guy, Mike Starr, but I was in this weird spot, so I got to know a lot of the adults, which was kind of cool. I was a lot of a fly on the wall, but then I found out that the director, and I don't know if she knew this or not, but that was kind of his thing. Like if he was going to cast a baseball player, he wanted to find a baseball player to play the baseball player.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was kind of, I mean, it worked out for me, but I also think it's kind of like, well, but aren't we supposed to be actors?
Well, no, I've seen that. I've seen a lot of directors be that way, because if they want whatever it is to be genuine,
right?
You know what I mean? Like when you see, like, let's stay on topic with comedians. We've seen actors play comedians.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But they always cast real comedians to fill the scene, to give it that authenticity, because it's like because and no matter what film or whatever you watch on TV, there's always somebody in the room that's like, it's not real. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that has the experience in it.
Yeah.
Like my wife, she can look at TV like, they're not knitting. You know what I'm
A lot
saying?
of times, like, that guy's not playing the piano.
Right. They never show
him
him and his hands at the same time.
Yeah.
Just moving his head.
Yeah.
It's always tights. It's always cutaways
That's right.
of the hands. So we know, but I mean, to have that authenticity, it does make a difference. I mean, and again, I'll go back to Jamie Foxx with Ray.
Yeah, it took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, he had to train, like Ray Charles wasn't going to let anybody play him
that's for
that
real.
didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What is cool is I've seen some of those, like
background.
the
Behind the scenes
back where they
stuff.
finally meet and sit next to pianos next
I
to
seen
each
it on
other.
YouTube.
It's so cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
And how cool must it be to be Jamie Foxx, though, too, to know that you could, I mean, I'm not just the experience to play next to Ray Charles, but to also have be like, I can play. You know what I mean?
He's classically trained too.
Unabashedly can play this piano. That's awesome.
Yeah,
so
he is.
No,
He's
it's
classically
awesome.
trained as well. So that's what I'm saying. Having all that stuff in your toolkit does come in handy later. So they shot Mickey here.
Yeah. So we shot in Richmond. And then we went to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and shot on the Little League World Series field, like before the Little League World Series. And then we wrapped. But so then I was there and I'm doing my thing and I'm like, well, I got to start. Let's do stand up. So I hit it up and started doing open mics. And I was also studying. I also started taking classes at the Groundlings.
Yes.
So doing improv comedy at the Groundlings, and that's just kind of how it all started. I was in LA for 7 years, and I just was, I only ever studied at the Groundlings. Never took any classes anywhere else.
But I mean, that's essentially. I mean, the three that you hear the most: Groundlings, UCB in New York, and then Second City in Chicago.
Yeah.
So they're all like, I never hear. I mean, prestigious wise, or what other.
I don't know.
Where else would you study there?
Yeah, no, Second City's right, and then I know there's some other. Yeah, that's pretty much it, and they all have their own little style and stuff. But there's a lot of crossover too.
Yeah, right. But that's who SNL mainly recruits from. Those. So, how did you end up getting mixed up in the lottery?
I was the spokesperson for the Virginia Lottery for 7 years. So I traveled all over the state, and I did. I would go places and basically, whatever it was. I was, we're making up commercial spots, places, but sometimes I'd be like kind of hosting games for people everywhere from like 5 people at a county fair to 90,000 people at the Redskins Stadium or the Commander Stadium. The Commander Stadium. Like it was the craziest audition process ever. I auditioned for them. I had a great audition. And then I think maybe another time, like 3 months in, they wanted me to go record a VO because they wanted to hear what I would sound like, and they paid me to record this VO. And then nothing. And then they're like, congratulations. And I was like, what?
But the downside was it limited you, right? Like you had some kind of conflict of interest with the contract.
Yeah, that was wild. I mean, it was there's again, life's one big lesson, right? And I had a contract and it was cool, but it was kind of like the golden handcuffs, if you will, you know what I mean? They're like, you can't do stand up, you can't do this, you gotta put your SAG, you can't be SAG right now because we're gonna use you in all these commercials and it's all local, whatever. And I was like, okay. And my agent was like, it's what you gotta do. And they were like, yeah, and your YouTube channel, man, you gotta get rid of your YouTube channel because, all this sort of stuff. And I had like really built up like all these things, in the beginning of it all and stuff. I got rid of it and now it's gone. You know what I mean? And like, and of course they're telling me in the beginning of the contract, we're going to make you famous. And I mean, no, everyone wants to hear that, but you don't ever believe someone if they tell you you're going to, and I didn't, but you were hopeful,
Right. So what was it? Was it a morality clause? Like what was it that you had to get rid of that stuff?
Was that I was, what it was, I think was because social media was happening at the same time. You know what I mean? Because this was 2013 is when it started.
Right.
But so I think what it was they didn't know what the hell was going on, and they were trying to catch up, right? And so they thought that they were going to. Before it was Lady Luck was who it was, and she was a SAG actress. They'd fly her in first class. They'd put her up in the Jefferson Hotel. They'd put her in a commercial, bells and whistles, fly her out, big dollar, high dollar stuff all the time. They wanted to do the made in, played in. We got a Virginian guy. They liked the fact that I was born at home in a house in Norfolk on Virginian Drive, right? Like that. They were like, "This is our guy."
Down,
And they just thought they were going to. I didn't think they understood social media, so they thought they were really going to turn this character into something, But the problem was they came up with the idea of the game guy. Not me. I didn't come to them and say, "Oh my God, let me tell you this skill I have of turning a game and anything into a game." You know, they were like, "We got this idea." Like the first gig, I'm riding to this gig, and they're gonna shoot me with paintballs. And I'm like, what? Because they want to do this, show how tough I am and all this crazy stuff I'll do. And I hear these producers talking about how much they love the Jackass movies, and I'm sitting in the car going, "Oh no, oh no."
And were you thinking like 7 years of paintballs?
Yeah, no. I was thinking like
7 years of this.
Yeah, well, I was like, I busted that shot. I knew what they wanted, and then I busted it because I took off my head and off my helmet afterwards, and I screamed a cuss word, so I knew they couldn't use it.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I can subtly play my game too.
Yeah, you go. Yeah.
You're the game guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so that was that.
So, all right. But I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact, who cares? Like, all right, so for example, there's certain things that you do, if there's a scandal released later, it would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if you have a wholesome vibe
Image,
But if you're the spokesperson for Virginia Lottery and then it comes out that you also were smuggling cocaine, it's
Right.
Well,
you know what it was? There was they were like PG for an R-rated, for an 18 plus audience is what they were trying to do. Thread the needle on something. And I don't even, be honest with you, man, I don't even know. I was young and I was pumped. I had my agent at the time, a different agent at this time. It was like, this is what you got to do, you know, da-da-da. And I was like,
it was a dope get. That's a good credit. But I know you used to be bummed out.
I did get bummed
about
out.
your
There
limitations
was
with stand-up. You was like, he's like, oh, no, I can't do that right now. I was like, oh, okay.
I know. It was a
was
little
your cat
weird.
voice. That's what I remember. Hey, I can't do that right now.
There's a lot of I've been thinking
paintballs.
I mean, I got to do cool stuff, you know, and I dig it. It's cool, man, you know. I don't know. But yeah, so I wasn't able to do too much. Towards the end, they kind of released a lot of those restrictions. But at that point, like, there was a lot of water under the bridge. So then I find myself coming out of that contract and almost starting from square one in a lot of ways, in a lot of different areas. Because as far as stand-up and stuff like that, within the scene, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't able to do it. So, like, a whole nother group of people had started hitting the stage and doing all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I hadn't really been out there.
I used to hurt for you a little bit, man. I did. It hurt. Because I knew, like, when you was... Because when you get the... Like, once that stand-up bug bites you... Yeah, it's like it's torture where you can't do it. Yeah.
Well, that's the whole reason why I started doing rooms when I got back, because there weren't any, and I was just like, well, man, somebody's got to put up some rooms. You know? So you start just putting them up, and then you're running too many rooms, and you're like, this is ridiculous.
How many rooms did you run, man?
Well, we had the Belmont was one, and then we tried a couple at a couple different places. I think I was maybe rotating the Cinema Cafe in the very beginning, but not really, like hosting that. But the Belmont was a good one for a while. And then we had 37th and Zen for a while that I was trying to get that going. And
I didn't hit any of those. I don't think I knew
this was you know, some other places, you know, that were like Tap House. We do the Tap House stuff, but some of them I would like, I don't know.
The rooms I remember hitting with you. I remember you booking me for the one in West Ghent.
Oh yeah, the Tortilla West.
And I remember it was one more room I feel like he had that I played.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I don't remember what the other one was, but I remember doing Tortilla West with you because all the crazy stuff that happened there and the story with that.
Was that Mr. Gutierrez? Was that the name you gave?
Yeah, it was a room. Basically, the story. Maybe I'll put the clip in here for the podcast. But there was this guy, Jason, booked me for the show and had me. I think I was closing out this show.
Yeah,
and I didn't really know what I was going to say, and there was this guy that just caught my attention in the front, and I think I told him he looked. I think I said, you look like you'd be a cool teacher or an excellent cocaine salesman or something to this guy.
Or either that or like the teacher that would get you cocaine.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I'm glad you laughed. Has anybody ever told you that you look like an excellent cocaine salesman? Or a really cool teacher that was an excellent cocaine salesman? I want to take Mr. Gutierrez's class. You get an A, you get a little bag of China White to go with.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, the guy, Gutierrez, was a criminal.
Oh, really?
Yes. So this is a weird thing. I don't know if anybody else. I feel like other comedians, I've heard people tell stories, but for some reason the joke rang true.
Yeah, it was a little too true.
It was too true.
Yeah,
because he ended up closing down Tortilla West.
Some sort of low key, whatever key embezzlement.
He was
going
embezzling
on.
money from the place. I wrote the guy that wrote the article for the pilot. The guy that investigated it.
Oh, yeah.
I sent him the joke.
Oh, that's
funny. I sent him the whole thing afterwards. He was like, man, this is pretty cool or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was trying to, it didn't go anything past that though. But still, shout out to the pilot.
Shout out to the pilot
for taking the time.
Yeah,
the guy was He was legitimately shady.
Criminal.
And he
That was
closed
funny.
it. And then I found out from me, he's like, hey, man. He's like, no more shows at Tortilla West. And I was like, why? He's like,
It's your fault.
Let me tell you.
Mr.
Yeah,
Gutierrez.
it's your fault.
It's your fault.
You scared him out, man. Yeah.
that was weird, man. It was a weird period where that kept happening, though. I had a couple of shows.
You kept
calling out
talking to
criminals.
embezzlers?
Yeah.
No. I kept, every time I did crowd work, it was true.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking I'm riffing.
Yeah.
But it was like, it happened like a couple of times in a row. It kind of freaked me out. Like, I was like, I'm
I
not
started to be
doing
afraid to rip.
Yeah, I was.
You know what I mean?
I was.
In marriages, you out there getting people sent to prison. What you do?
Bro,
what
it
you
was
doing?
it was sometimes it was just subtle. Like I remember I did this, it was a soul food restaurant in Suffolk that I want to say Katash ran.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember the name of the place. But it was two ladies and they were laughing the whole time. Like I had them.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden they turn in like low key like heck, like they won't pay any attention.
Yeah.
And they were just like this. And I was just like, you just got a big. And she dropped her phone and she was like, how did you, like, could you see my, did somebody tell you? Like, she was freaking out.
Wow.
And I was like, yo, I'm gonna stop doing crowd
Man.
work because I'm like reading people's mail. I didn't even
Jeez,
know.
man.
I would just do it. I didn't know.
You're like
It was weird, bro. So,
channeling these people
Yeah.
while you're on
yeah,
stage.
I don't know what it is, bro.
What if that's like a thing, a gift, and you don't realize
Yeah.
it? You
Yeah,
know,
and I
like-
don't want to. I didn't want to acknowledge it, so I just kind of like I kind of
I
just
don't
like
want this gift.
yeah. I'm trying to push it off to
That's
coincidence.
like a Marvel superhero.
That's what I'm saying.
you
You're
know?
like Professor Xavier.
Comedy,
Like, yeah.
crowd work, man.
Exactly. After doing 15 minutes of crowd work, he solved 5 people's problems.
The team learned the location of the missing people.
Yes, that's right.
I'm like, I'm up there talking like, you look like you got 2 people in your basement.
yeah.
It's kind of like it's kind of like Bruce Willis in the movie he did with Samuel L. Jackson.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable.
Oh, yeah.
When people touched him, he could see
Everything.
like the crimes that they committed. That's what
oh
you.
man, yeah,
That's
that's
something
you,
you got
man.
going on.
The comedy crime
Yeah,
guy.
you-
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The comedy, the clairvoyant comedian.
What's your kryptonite though?
Bad sets.
Yeah. Well, I think it's everybody.
That's what I said.